So here we have the first non-game piece of media to cover for the franchise, the Donkey Kong Coloring and Activity books. Unfortunately, however, I can't actually cover all of these like I would want to. Like I mentioned in the introduction video, despite the popularity of the Mario franchise, there really isn't many people focused on archiving any sort of material that isn't directly the games. So a lot of these releases have very little coverage on the internet. This is made worse by the fact that this series of books doesn't really have any numbering that differentiates the different volumes, so unless you're already aware of what each individual entry looks like, it's very possible that anybody who owned a copy didn't know that theirs was unique in comparison to the others who were archived. There are a few of these that do have scans available, and the Mario Wiki has descriptions for the plots of each of the remaining books, though I can't verify the validity of these plot synopses. I will cover what I can, but I won't be able to be nearly as detailed as I would like to be. For future reference, any videos that have a little asterisk in their title are things that I feel like I'm unable to cover with as much detail as I would prefer to. And if circumstances end up changing in the future, I will likely have made an update replacement video that is more in line with what I originally would have wanted. Luckily, the first two volumes of this are archived on the Internet Archive, so I could at least show how the plot starts. While these are coloring books, there's actually an overarching storyline between them, which are supposed to be set up for the events of the arcade game. I won't be considering any of the non-game media as part of my speculation on the overall Mario continuity, but I still do want to talk about their stories as self-contained plots. I think the most interesting thing to note about these books is the fact that, as far as I could tell, this is the first example of the lady from the arcade game being referred to as Pauline, which will stay her name in the future. I doubt this name was created by the writers of the book, and was likely just part of the general information they were given to work with for writing this story. But perhaps a more interesting part of this is that Pauline is a singer. This character trait won't seem that relevant for another 35 years worth of content that I'm going to cover, but it does end up coming back all the way in Super Mario Odyssey in 2017. Outside of official releases, there's also a cancelled game that was planned to release around 1983, which also featured Pauline as a singer. I'm curious if Pauline being a singer was just also supplied to the creators of these books as a key part of her character, similar to Mario being a carpenter, and it just somehow never got used in other material until 2017. Okay, now we'll get into the plot of the first volume. Mario, Pauline, and Donkey Kong all work at Videoland Amusement Park, which is both an amusement park and a zoo. Mario works as a carpenter who fixes all the rides in the park. Pauline works as a singer and performer for The Big Show, and Donkey Kong is a new attraction for the park where he's trapped in jail for the amusement of everybody. Because Pauline is a nice lady who feeds the animals peanuts, they all love her. Presumably, she feeds Mario the most peanuts out of everybody, because he loves her the most, but is too shy to tell her how he feels. One day, while eating lunch, Donkey Kong tries to grab Pauline, and Mario retaliates by slamming a hammer right into his skull. Definitely animal abuse, and he's probably going to get fired. Enraged, Donkey Kong breaks the bars and runs away with Pauline. Alongside the actual story are a few bonus activities that keep the reader entertained. Are these considered games? Do I have to do all of these activities if I want to keep my credibility? Too bad, I'm doing them anyways. The second volume picks up right after this. Mario has lost track of Donkey Kong and looks throughout the whole park for him and realizes that the last place he's yet to look is the haunted house, which he's scared of. Mario goes inside and is spooked by the most elaborate haunted house I've ever seen in my life. I actually really enjoy the visuals of the setting quite a bit. But after a bunch of potentially dangerous hijinks, Mario finds Pauline tied up to an operating table for some reason. Don't know why Donkey Kong did that. After a short scuffle, Mario saves Pauline and they leave the haunted house, and Pauline kisses Mario. And unfortunately, we've already ran out of volumes with full scans. I'll still cover the few scraps I can find the remaining volumes, but I can't go in as much detail. In Volume 3, Mario and Pauline leave the amusement park and find it deserted, as Donkey Kong is still on the loose. Donkey Kong traps Mario in a telephone booth and then dangles him above shark-infested waters that this amusement park has for whatever reason. So Pauline returns to the haunted house to retrieve Mario's hammer before he's tickled to death. Unfortunately, I can't find any scans for the fourth volume, just a plot synopsis. The description on the Mario Wiki seems to imply that it ends leading directly into the arcade game, which, if true, is a fun way to end this proposed origin story. Outside of the main four volumes, there's also Donkey Kong Puzzles and Mazes, which also has very little coverage that I could find. Technically, that's it in regards to what released in 1982, but I feel like this video feels quite incomplete at this point, and having a video dedicated to these 1983 releases would feel even more bare bones. So I will cover the Donkey Kong Strikes Again books, as well as the junior ones. Even more so than the books I've already shown, there's even less archived about these ones, so you'll have to forgive me. Volume 1 of Donkey Kong Strikes Again starts with Mario's morning routine preparing for his new job at the nearby construction site, but he forgot that it was Saturday and just decides to eat his breakfast. So I was right that he got fired after hitting Donkey Kong on the head. He is interrupted by a barrel flying at his head from Donkey Kong, so Mario heads to find Pauline since he's the only one who could talk to Donkey Kong. Since she has become famous since the events of the original books, Mario has to enter her private establishment and go via limousine to the construction site, where Donkey Kong is waiting. They travel up via an elevator. Volume 2 I could only find 2 images for, but alongside the wiki description gives the general plot away. Some general Donkey Kong shenanigans occur, and Pauline reveals that she's bought the amusement park and renamed it to Midway, and invites Donkey Kong back to be the main attraction and Mario to be the foreman. Wasn't Donkey Kong already the star attraction? What changed his mind here? Volume 3's available images don't really give a lot to work with, and the plot description on the Mario Wiki is similarly barren. The plot is just more Mario gooning over Pauline and Donkey Kong doing his thing. Volume 4 has no scans at all besides the cover, so I can't say anything about how it goes. There's another solely activity book without any story. Once again, very few scans. And now we move on to the Donkey Kong Jr. related books. There's no overarching stories to these ones, and none of them are fully archived. The first one is just a general activity book with a couple of pages archived, which I got to have some fun with. There were 3 tiny activity books included in Donkey Kong Jr. cereal boxes. The cereal itself I'll go in more detail on in the 1983 bonus video, but I can't find any scans for these actual booklets. And finally is Donkey Kong Jr. Puzzles and Mazes, which I once again couldn't find anything on. And that's everything I could find scans for of these books. I didn't expect this video to take nearly as long to make. Even though it's not that long, it took very long to edit. So I worry immensely about stuff like the Super Show in the future. Hopefully at some point I could remake this video with even more scans and more information, but for now, this is really all I could find.